Welcome back, everybody. You know, they say timing is everything. And for athletes coming up in this day and age, they have available to them a share of the pie that wasn't available to student athletes in the past. You know, name, image, and likeness has changed the game entirely. And our next guest is a young man named Ayden Novak, senior from Lake Orion High School. Good to have you on the show, Ayden.
Great to be here, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. You spoke with author Kristi Dosh, who has a new book coming out this summer. The book's title is The Athlete's NIL Playbook. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I learned a lot from Kristi through NIL. It's a really hot topic right now. It's affecting a lot of high schoolers in the recruiting business and a lot of athletes in the transfer portal. And she basically said that a lot of athletes chase the money more than the best experience for college athletics that they can get. So they basically just go for the biggest bag, essentially, is what she was saying, as opposed to going to the best school that fits them. And that the book she's writing, Athletes NIL Playbook, is kind of the guidance for those athletes, what they should be doing, not just chasing the money, but chasing the best experience in college for them. That gives them a good balance between the money and actually playing the sport that they love and having fun with it.
It's interesting to me because it's always easy for us to have an idea of like, oh man, that individual might be making the wrong decision. But then if it was actually like if it was you or me, you know, what would we do?
Right.
That's what I think that the tough part about that is it's very tempting, especially, you know, when you're a young person trying to figure it all out. You never want to chase dollars specifically just to chase them, but it's sometimes it can be so attractive that it changes the course of your life.
Exactly.
So, what is it that you want to do full time when you graduate?
So I'm committed to Delta College right now for baseball, and I want to go into sports journalism. Ideally, I'd like to be an on-air commentator. That's like my dream job. That's what I would love to do when I graduate college. But the future right now is baseball for now, and journalism later down the road.
Very good. Does NIL, does that stuff apply to you yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm not getting offered anything from a community college, but that's all right. I'm going to play the sport that I love, and I'm getting to do the major that I want to do. So.
Attaboy. Like, do you think name, image, likeness, do you think it's good for college athletes or for high school athletes getting ready to go to school? Like, do you think is it a good thing, or do you think it's changing the landscape too much to where maybe things are out of control?
Well, in my opinion, it definitely goes both ways. It's definitely good for, it's got its aspects and where it's really good for college athletes and high school athletes, and then there's aspects where it's not so good. But I would have to lean towards it's changing the landscape a little bit too much because I think these young kids, like they're getting too caught up in the money that they're being offered as opposed to the opportunities that they would have at these schools. So I think the money is just kind of affecting them a little bit too much right now. That's what I would kind of lean towards.
Yeah, I remember there was a great quote from Vince Lombardi. When I was in high school, we had to in art class we did calligraphy and we did our favorite quote, and there was a Vince Lombardi quote that said, "Potential means you ain't done it yet." And nowadays, it seems like a lot of student athletes are profiting on their potential before
Yeah.
they've done it yet. So I'm not sure that Vince Lombardi would have been on board with with
Mhm.
NIL if he were still around today.
Right.
Here's Lake Orion High School's Ayden Novak with author Kristi Dosh.
What's going on, everyone? Today we welcome Kristi Dosh, author of the Athletes NIL Playbook. Kristi is a former corporate attorney and currently teaches undergraduate and graduate NIL courses at the University of Florida. I have been very interested in the world of NIL since I am a huge fan of college sports, and NIL has been a hot topic recently, impacting the decisions of many high school recruits and players in the transfer portal for all sports. So, Ms. Dosh, thank you for taking the time to do this. And the first question I have for you is what inspired you to write the Athletes NIL Playbook, and what gap in education are you hoping to fill with this book?
Yeah, so I've really been following name, image, and likeness before it was really a thing. When I started sports reporting in the very beginning, There was a case that involved Ed O'Bannon, who was a former UCLA basketball player, and he saw a player in the NCAA basketball game from EA Sports that he thought looked like him. I don't think it had his actual name, but it looked like him, played the same position, had all the same characteristics. He knew that they were depicting him, and he didn't believe that was right, especially since he wasn't getting paid for it. That case happened, I think it's been about 12 years ago now. He did not win the right for student athletes to get paid for their name, image, and likeness back then, but it became a real conversation, I feel like, after that. And so finally in 2021, the NCAA, as well as the NAIA and the NJCAA, all the big major college sports organizations changed their rules to allow athletes to monetize their NIL. So I started paying attention to it, way back then and kind of followed through. And as I knew it was going to be happening, I really wanted to help educate athletes because I am a lawyer and I've sort of been around this for a long time and done a lot with my own name, image, and likeness. So I wanted to help athletes take advantage of this and have been doing so since it started. And the book kind of grew out of all the advice I've been giving over the years so that I have something that high school athletes or youth athletes and their parents could sit down and go through to really understand how to set themselves up for NIL success down the road.
For student athletes navigating NIL deals, what are the biggest mistakes you see them making and how can they avoid them?
Oh, the lawyer in me wants to say the biggest mistake is not getting a written contract. And I know that athletes don't always want to do that and that sometimes it feels too expensive to have a lawyer look at something. But having a written contract is so important because it really outlines the obligations that both parties have. And when something goes wrong, it gives you kind of a roadmap for how to solve the problem or how to get someone else to help you solve the problem. Unfortunately, there's also sometimes contracts that take too many rights from athletes and puts them in a bad position down the road. And so not only do you need to have a written contract, but you do need to have somebody look at it. And luckily, there are some really amazing resources out there that don't cost athletes any money. There are law schools on campuses that offer free clinics where athletes can get advice. There's an organization that is forming to represent athletes, athletes.org, that I believe they allow their members to have a certain number of legal hours where they can get contracts reviewed. There's lots of attorneys I know who do free reviews. I have a Facebook group where people can drop stuff in and get advice. So there are free resources out there. And I would just say that's one of the biggest issues I see is just around sort of the terms of the deal and what happens when something goes wrong.
And what role do universities and athletic departments play in preparing athletes for NIL opportunities? And what should athletes do if their school isn't providing enough guidance?
It's really evolved. In the beginning, schools were providing, I would call it a minimum level of education. They were mostly partnering with third-party companies that provided education, primarily through apps and other platforms where athletes could go on and watch videos that would teach them about different aspects of NIL. I didn't find that athletes really availed themselves of that. They didn't go on and watch the videos. I mean, they don't have time between classes and their sport and the NIL deals. Like there wasn't enough time for them to sit there and watch a bunch of videos. I wish that they had done more of that, but they didn't. Some schools brought speakers in. I've gone on many campuses and spoken. I think that does a little bit better because you've got the athletes in person. They can interact with you. They can ask questions. It's a little more engaging, I think, sometimes than a video might be. But those educational programs, I do think, have evolved and there's more available. I have a friend named Sam Green, and she gets brought in on campuses to help athletes actually learn how to create better content. She's taking their phone and showing them how to edit. I go in more to talk about like legal issues and how to build a personal brand and that kind of stuff. So there are more and more of us who are sort of educators in this space that athletic departments are using, but also athletic departments are hiring more of their own staff. So most schools at this point, especially at the Division I and at the Power 5, Power 4 level, have a NIL director, and many of them have several people with NIL titles and even some people that are specific to one team like football or men's basketball or women's basketball. And so there are more people on campus on an everyday basis to help athletes now too. There are classes like the ones that I teach at University of Florida. I teach in the journalism department and the sports management department, and I get a lot of athletes who are in my classes. So I do think there is more and more education available with each passing month, and things continue to evolve. Now we've got revenue sharing, we think, coming in the summer of 2025. And so there will have to be education around that as well. So I think athletic departments are trying to evolve as quickly as they can to provide that education to athletes. But athletes sometimes have to seek it out for themselves too.
How do you see the NIL landscape evolving over the next few years, and what advice would you give to young athletes who want to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, I think that, sort of the beginning is over now, and we've entered a place where everybody sort of knows what NIL is, at least at the college level. I still run into a lot of high school and youth athletes who don't understand it yet. But I think at the college level, there's a better understanding of it now. People sort of know where you can go to find deals on things like NIL marketplaces. They know how to work with the NIL collectives at their school. Brands are more comfortable working in this space and doing deals with student athletes now. I think we'll just continue to see that grow because the studies and the evidence show that athletes are incredible marketers and that they help brands move product. So I think you're going to see more and more brands not only come into this space, but invest at higher levels than they are already. So I think the NIL marketplace is really healthy and is just going to continue to grow. And I think where the change is with revenue sharing coming in, because I think that schools are going to be getting more involved in NIL and helping identify opportunities for athletes. For example, a lot of athletic departments are forming their own marketing agencies, or they're partnering with third-party marketing agencies to help get these deals. And when they're recruiting student athletes, they're sort of talking about the whole financial picture. Like, here's what we will offer you in revenue sharing. Here are the NIL opportunities we think are going to be available for you. Maybe even here's some brands we've already identified, or here's what our marketing agency has already put together that they're going to go out with for you. So I do think moving forward, you'll see more athletic department involvement, whereas in the beginning, they really stayed very hands off.
NIL has been a really, really big thing recently with college sports. So we really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I learned a whole lot from you about NIL. I'm definitely a lot more interested in this now. So thank you again for taking the time to do this.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Kristi Dosh's new book, The Athlete's NIL Playbook, the complete guide to owning and profiting from your name, image, and likeness, hit bookshelves earlier this summer. It is worth a read. We appreciate having her on the show and certainly appreciate Ayden Novak for that interview. When we come back, we transition to high school football. Again, week 2 of Drive to the Game. We will set the table for Friday night's matchup, big matchup between Rochester and Rochester Adams. That's coming up next here on Open Mic.